Hey everyone, this is Vasquez for Avix Gaming, and I finally finished my agility video in 7 days to die. If you like an stealthy playstyle, agility can make you an efficient silent killing machine, with enough firepower to deal with any situation. Agility has only combat and mobility related perks, so you won't have any advantages during resource gathering or crafting, outside of armor and weapons. But it is the most survivable build ever, and it's basically easy mode. Well, Alpha 20 has some surprises, but also some upgrades. Okay, so this is all I found out about stealth. If the enemy detects you or not depends on sight and noise. The less ambient light, the easier it is to sneak. You need to crouch in order to get into stealth mode. This bar shows how visible or listenable you are. So, for example, if you approach from a well-illuminated patch, you will be detected quicker. But if you approach from the shadows, you can get very close to the enemy. Also, line of sight is important. When possible, approach from the back of the enemies. You can also use walls and furniture to occlude your approach. Zombies can see your flashlights and also your torches and weapons on fire, so be mindful of them when sneaking. It's possible to get quite close to a zombie while illuminating it with your flashlight and not get detected. This can be useful when using ranged silent weapons like the bow or the crossbow. In a completely dark environment, you can get right in front of a zombie and it won't detect you, unless you make noise. With the exception of the cloth armor, using armor gives you a noise penalty. Modifying your armor with muffle connector reduces this penalty. While you are in sneak mode, you will move slower and it will reduce your jump distance. Climbing a ladder will always get you out of stealth mode. Stepping on trash or breakable tiles will make noise, but reading Urban Combat Volume 3 negates this. Shooting a gun will make noise, but modifying it with a silencer reduces the noise, but it also reduces the weapon's range. Breaking or hitting blocks will also make noise. Using points in the perk from the shadows will help you to hide better in the shadows, and will also reduce your overall noise. Also, zombies will stop searching for you after a time. Also, it will increase your speed while crouching. In Alpha 20, there are some rooms or areas in which you will wake up all the zombies independent of your stealth, so be careful about that. To counter this, you can always try to thin out the zombies through the doorway before entering any room, and if you hear the voices of the zombies, get ready for a fight. The Hide and Strike perk will give you bonus damage on sneak attacks, to the point that you can kill any zombie with almost any weapon with a headshot. But be careful with the beefier zombies and armor zombies. If you get the experience, you can confirm it as a kill. Parkour is a game-changing perk. It will reduce your fall damage, and you can use it to quickly exit a POI or to escape a difficult situation. Also, at level 2 and at level 4, it will increase your jumping distance, increasing your mobility quite a bit. This lets you take advantage of safe vantage points that only spider zombies can access. You can also jump over zombies, but be careful indoors because the roof won't let you. You can also jump over obstacles that could hide zombies or hide behind a fence or something like that when you need to. And now finally to the weapons. And you have a lot of options. Bows and crossbows are affected by the archery perk. You can make a primitive bow and stun arrows at the beginning of the game. It is part of the first quest. Check out our early game survival video for the details. Bows have a low projectile velocity, so if your target is far, you will need to aim higher. This velocity gets higher the more advanced the bow. Modifying a bow or a crossbow with a polymer string will also increase the velocity. The bows are very good at every stage of the game, and they got buffed in the Alpha 20. So the primitive bow is very good at the beginning of the game. I think it's the best ranged weapon at the very beginning, because you can make all the arrows you need. Stone arrows only need stone, wood, and feathers. A sneak attack headshot will kill almost any zombie. You have a lot of range, and you can even take down these beefier zombies from a safe distance. The range of all the bows is incredible. If you shoot in a parabole, you can hit very far away targets. Just remember that the lower the velocity, the higher you need to aim to hit your mark. Bows and crossbows are silent weapons, so zombies won't be alerted when you fire them. And they deal 200% sneak attack damage. You have a chance to recover arrows, and Ranger's Guide to Archery Volume 1 increases this chance. Getting points in archery will increase your damage and reload speed using bows and crossbows, and will also unlock the recipe for the wooden bow and the iron crossbow. You will need bow parts to make them. The wooden bow does not need a workbench to make it, and it is a very good upgrade from your primitive bow. You can make iron arrows as soon as you get the forge, and they are a very good weapon all the way to the middle of the game. So, difference between crossbows and bows. Bows reload faster than crossbows, and you can modify them with ergonomic grips. To get the full power of the bow, you need to have a full pull. You will see a green bar when you pull your bow. If you release before you get the full pull, you won't get the full power of the bow. Pulling your bow will consume stamina. Crossbows can be equipped with gun sights. They always fire at full power. They have a higher velocity and also more power than the bows. And you can store one bolt ready to fire with your crossbow. You will need the workbench to make the iron crossbow. You will find plenty of arrows and bolts while you're looting. You can also buy them from the traders, and they are cheaper than other kinds of ammunition. And you can make them yourself. To make the iron arrows and bolts, you will need iron arrow tips that you can make out the forge. You need wood, and you will need feathers. You can get feathers easily by searching nests, but you get 30 feathers every time you harvest a zombie vulture. Also, you can get feathers from chickens. When you find the crucible, you will be able to craft steel arrow tips. You can also buy them from the traders, and they are cheap. And you will need to find the recipes for all the steel arrows. So you will need the Ranger's Guide to Archery Volume 4 to make the steel arrows and bolts. They are armor piercing and do a lot of damage. They are made with scrap polymers and steel arrow tips, and they are a good all-around ammunition. You can take almost any zombie with them. Ranger's Guide to Archery Volume 5 will give you the recipe for flaming arrows. They are made with steel arrowheads, scrap polymers, gunpowder, animal fat, and cloth. You can carry bundles of 150, the same as normal arrows, and each shot will set a zombie on fire. Fire will deal damage over time, but is very little, and fast, tougher zombies will take a long time to die, and waiting for them to die while they are hitting you is kind of the... Also, fire doesn't spread to other zombies, so I find this kind of arrow very expensive, so I rather carry the steel tip arrow. You know, cost to benefit. They are kind of cool. If the fire would spread to other zombies, it might be better. Also, weaker zombies die with one hit, so you are not getting anything from the fire. Volume 2 of Ranger's Guide to Archery will give you the recipe for exploding arrows and bolts. They are made with steel arrowhead, scrap polymers, gunpowder, and duct tape. I think they are pretty expensive, but they are also very, very powerful. They can even benefit from the sneak attack bonus. So you can take down groups of zombies if they are very close with only one arrow. You can carry bundles of up to 75. The candy atomic junkies will increase the explosion range. When you fire them, be careful not to get caught up in the explosion. And they do very little damage to blocks, so it's safe to fire them into rooms and things like that. So overall, a very effective ammunition. I think you can carry these when you get these kinds of opportunities, and it's okay, it's good. And this is the only ammunition I have found that can kill a zombie bear in one hit. Now handguns. Well, in Alpha 20 you have a starter weapon, that's the 9mm pipe gun. And it's good, it takes the 9mm ammunition. And really the only downside to this one is the reload speed. But very good option if you want to specialize in this kind of weapon. One thing to take into account is that at the beginning of the game you will not find a lot of ammunition. You make it with short iron pipe, glue and wood, so you can have it at the very beginning of the game. I think it's good to have, but the bow it's better, at least in my opinion, at the beginning of the game. Using points in Gunslinger will increase your damage and reload speed, and will give you the recipe for the 9mm pistol. You will need handgun parts to make it, and also the workbench. Check the toilets, because you sometimes find handguns there. Or you could buy one from the traders, but they are very expensive in Alpha 20. From level 3 on, consecutive shots will deal extra damage. The ammunition is very cheap to make, only one of each, just one bullet tip, bullet case, and one gunpowder. So you can make lots of ammunition, and it's really good. You will need to make them at the workbench. You can carry stacks of 300, that's very good. For your information, other kinds of ammunition you can carry up to 150. You can modify it with the extension magazine and get pretty decent magazine size. Also, you can equip it with the silencer that will make it... It will reduce the range of the weapon, but it will make it also a good stealth weapon. You will need to find a recipe for the SMG, and it has more capacity in its magazine, a faster fire rate, and better durability. It's a very good weapon for any kind of situation, but the reload speed is a bit slower. You will need the workbench, handgun parts, and steel to make it. The 44 caliber handguns have more damage, make more noise, have more recoil, and have a slower fire rate at the 9mm handgun. The 44 Magnum has only a 6 bullet capacity that cannot be increased, and it's kind of slow at the reload. The Magnum Enforcer Volume 4 will give you a discount with traders while holding a 44 caliber handgun. You can also carry stacks of 300 of the 44 caliber bullets. It is as powerful as the 44 Magnum, but you have a bigger magazine size that can be extended even more with magazine clip extenders, and the reload speed is really good. If you find all the Magnum Enforcer magazines, you will get a bonus. All your 44 Magnum bullets penetrate enemies, so you can hit more than one at a time. The 9mm and 44 Magnum are available in high power and armor piercing ammunition. Normal bullets are the cheapest and you will find a lot by looting. High power does more damage, but it's more expensive. And the armor piercing is the most expensive and does the most damage. Your melee weapon is the knife, and it is a decent weapon, and it is the butchering tool. You can make a bone knife as soon as you get 5 bones. You can find bones while looting. You can get them from the gore blocks that you sometimes find in the streets, or from any animal that you hunt. The perk, Fury of Blows, increases your attack speed with single-handed melee weapons. It will apply the bleeding debuff to enemies that you hit with the power attack. Bleeding does damage over time and makes the zombies walk slower. From level 3 on, your normal attacks will also apply the bleeding effect. You get the hunting knife recipe at level 1. You can make it as soon as you got some iron ingots. You can forge them, or you can buy them or loot them. The hunting knife is very fast, so you can keep a group of zombies at bay as long as you have stamina. Knives do a 400% damage on sneak attacks, but landing a sneak attack with a knife is difficult without a high level in from the shadows. Machetes are slower, but they are much stronger than hunting knives. They also have larger ranges, allowing you to attack from a little further. With a stealthy playstyle, I would recommend to stick with the machete. One sneak attack from the machete will kill most enemies. You will need to find a recipe to make it. Also, it uses iron ingots and machete parts. And you will need a workbench, so this is a end of the game weapon. The light armor perk reduces the stamina, mobility penalties, and also increases the durability of light armor. It also gives you the recipe for leather armor. I would highly recommend that you stick with the cloth armor at the beginning of the game, because it has no penalties. You can also repair it using cloth scraps. And by looting, early in the game you can find quality 5 or even quality 6 pieces of cloth armor. Also, you can make it with duct tape and cloth straps, and you don't need the workbench. The leather armor gives a little bit more protection, but it has penalties on mobility and increases the noise you make. You will need the workbench and sewing kits that are not that easy to find. And you can also use them to make the first aid kits. Of course, you need leather, but leather is really easy to find. The best light armor is military armor, but you need a lot of things to be able to craft it. So, first you need to find the recipe. Then, military armor uses military armor plates and also military fibers. You can find the recipe to make military fibers, or you can loot it. The good news is that military armor doesn't use steel, and you might find a complete set of military armor by looting or by buying it before you will be able to craft it. At least in my experience. Military armor does give a decent amount of protection, and the penalties are just a little higher than the leather armor. But by this point in the game, you might have enough points in the skills to offset this, and you might have access to mods that can reduce these penalties. There is a separate recipe for the military stealth boots that give you the same protection but without the penalties. Well, these are my final thoughts. Playing agility is the safest way to play 7 Days to Die. You have plenty of weapon options. Early, the bow is the best ranged weapon, and the Desert Vulture and the SMG hold up very well in the later stages of the game. I would recommend focusing on stealth at the beginning of the game, and you can catch up on other skills later. As an alternative, you could focus on parkour and archery, and that might work. Bows are very strong in Alpha 20. In a team you are not super useful because you don't have bonuses on crafting or resource gathering, and your combat is based on mobility and stealth, so you are not using those strengths while holding the line with your team. But you still have enough firepower to be a valuable contribution. Maybe you could be something like a scout, or if there were like tougher enemies, you could be something of an assassin or something. Be careful because in some POIs there are ambushes that will trigger independent of your stealth, and these might be the places that you are more likely to die. But as a solo player it is fun enough. If you are interested, we have a playlist with other videos on 7 Days to Die, and that will be all for now. Thanks for watching.